Omid and Kojo Show.
Hello and welcome to the Omid and Kojo Show.
I'm Omid, and this is Kojo.
And this is our show. Also, I'm eating my dinner at the moment, so don't mind me if I'm shoveling fish into my mouth. just don't pay attention to it.
Yeah, just black it out. Don't worry about
pretend that I'm not doing that during this.
There's going to be such large portions of the show that are just cut out because Kojo's just got a whole fish in his mouth.
Oh, it's all going in. It's all going in. I'll tell you what, in Portugal, they straight up just give you a plate full of fish. It was just fish and chips pretty much, but you don't just get a fish and chips. You get like 5 or 6 little fish, like the whole thing with the head and everything. And you just like kind of chip away around the bones to eat it. It's pretty nuts.
Yeah. It sounds like hassle though. I'm not a huge fan of eating fish on the bone.
It's hassle, but you feel like a real primal human. It's nice.
Yes. What, eating it with a knife and fork, surrounded by your loved ones, when you put zero effort into preparing that meal.
I felt like a primal human, all right? Leave me alone. Give me a break.
Kojo, the Omid and Kojo Show, the version of Joe Rogan's podcast where he actually goes out and kills these animals, puts like days of work into it. Kojo's like, nah, I feel like a real primal man.
Just eating fish
down.
Served to me. All right, topics to talk. What was the one I sent to you earlier, Omid?
So you said socialism and capitalism need to be discussed.
We're not doing those ones. We're not doing that. What was the good one that I said?
What's the most underrated trick?
Okay, underrated tricks.
Yeah. Well, to say it off, man don't care about all that. No. I was just going to say like my actual sentence, but then it was already set up for it.
Say your sentence on me.
Right, so for me, I think it's got to be things in the front swing family, but that just aren't really utilized. Because I feel like there's a few things that people are doing in the front swing family, but most people just don't. Well, I guess that's kind of just underutilized, not necessarily underrated.
I think in terms of underrated, yeah, let's think of things that people do that no one pays that much attention to, but maybe they should pay more attention to.
Kim Do-kick?
Yeah, well, a lot of old school stuff, actually, in general.
Yeah.
Like, did you see Juji Mufu's recent post?
No, not the most recent one.
He did like a B-twist, a double leg, and something else.
Oh, no, yeah, I saw that one, yeah.
Pop double leg, if it's done well, it looks really sick. And Alex Kerwood did pop double leg twist, and just the way he did it, it's cooler than most cart double full D-leg twists I've seen. Like just doing a really good running up pop double leg twist.
I think it's all down to the inversion of the D-leg. But yeah, you're definitely right. Like, I think it is because it's kind of been done so many times, like because it's like been around for so long. Because think in the early days of tricking, people weren't expanding onto there weren't as many tricks because people weren't doing as many rotations and twists and variations in one trick. So I feel like certain tricks got left behind, such as Kim Do-kick and D-leg twist and things of that nature.
Yeah, I mean, just a load of old school things people used to do, kind of get a bit forgotten about. By the way, one of these comments on it, can you speak in Thomas Shelby's accent, please?
I don't know if I could do his accent, but I can do a thick Brummy accent.
You could do Arthur Shelby.
You're right, mate. My name's Arthur Shelby.
No, it's not great.
I sound too simple.
Oh, so someone said, Jonas said spider and B-kick. I think both of them, now this goes for almost anything. Pretty much every trick is somewhat underrated in some ways because it can be done in a really cool way. Like even a tornado kick, you get Aiden Kennedy doing it.
Yeah.
Super impressive. And the same goes for every trick. spider and B kick fall into that category for me. Like when they're done super well or in the right combo, it's gonna look really sick.
Yeah.
So I guess any trick any trick is underrated. All tricks are underrated in some ways because they can all be incredible, pretty much. You know.
I get what you're saying, and it's weird how our perspectives on these things have changed over the years. Because, like, I remember when we used to have conversations, and you in particular, you kind of put me onto it first of all because you were like, "Oh, I don't want to work on it because I just think it's a bit bent," and I was like, "Well, I think I can make it look cool because I have like a vision of it that no one's ever really done it like." And then even then I was just like, "Oh yeah, you're probably right, it is a bit bent," and I just didn't really give it that much thought. But when you start thinking about tricks in a much deeper way, you kind of realize that you can make absolutely anything look cool.
Yeah, no, and I stand by that to some extent. Like, I think if you're not that into a trick, then I don't think you should just work on the stuff you're more into looking at. But at the same time, I do agree with you that you can make anything look cool if you really want to.
Yeah, there just comes a point where you have to decide where you're going to place your time, because you do only have a finite amount of time. Even if that's like 10 years, if you're starting tricking really, really young and you know you have at least 10 years of being able to do tricks to a really high standard and keep pushing it, then it's still a finite amount of time, and you can't get great at every single thing because there's always new things to do.
I just did a whole talk about that for KTL actually, like an hour ago. Just about, imagine you could buy tricks, and then think about it. Time is the currency. Like, you can buy tricks. You have a finite amount of time that you can use to get tricks. And yeah, you can reduce the amount of time you need for each one by like stretching, conditioning. That's going to make it easier. Using Kojo's Trick Lab, going to make it easier. Stuff like that can make the purchase cheaper. But at the end of the day, if you want to be good at any trick, you have to like put in that time investment. So I just did a talk about like choosing what to invest in wisely, because you want to be able to look back and be happy with what you spent your time doing. Because I didn't waste my early years of tricking. Like, I really enjoyed them, but I do wish that I'd put a bit more effort in progressing specific things that are like unique to me. I wish I put more effort in working on unique combos and developing my own style rather than chasing power tricks that people were already doing. Like, I could have still chased power tricks, but I'd rather have chased new ones. I wish I'd spent more time doing that.
Well, I think it would have just been much more beneficial if we'd gone about it in a more methodical manner, instead of just repping things out over, like going to the gym when we're absolutely exhausted and trying to do things that we'd only done one time before, but just trying to force it. We could have just spent that one session just doing slightly lighter tricks, but trying to really enhance our way of moving. And then the following session, because you've had a lighter session prior to it, you can just do the hard stuff and it'll be way easier. And you won't spend as much time trying to land it at one time. You can just walk in feeling way more fresh, land it, and get to a better understanding of how to land that trick. But these are the kind of things that you can't learn unless you have somebody telling you, or you have the experience yourself. And we had to experience it ourselves. And we were lucky with some of the advice that we were given, but there was nowhere near as much as there is now, literally because of KTL.
Well, I don't know. I think that's one thing. That's one thing that Mike Guthrie did like freakishly well, actually. Trying to talk William Fish. Sorry.
Get your bloody. No. Why can't you just eat the fish after?
I want to eat my fish. All right. I'm hungry. I'm eating my fish.
I'm going to eat lobster. Tomorrow I'm going to eat lobster.
But yeah, Michael Guthrie, like in his prime through the whole 2010s, it was amazing how many different things he worked on. Like, he always found a way to find something new to put loads of time and effort into. Because there's other trickers. I won't name drop everyone, but there's other trickers who are really, really good, but they're not always doing constantly different new things. So I think, and that's why I want to encourage more people to be like setting different goals and changing what you work on a lot. And working towards what you really want, not just doing what you see other people do, you know?
It is really hard to not fall into that trap, but you can do it. As long as you look at, like, I don't know, instead of looking at things in such a short-term manner, it's a lot easier for you to kind of push past that, because although everybody else is investing all of their time into these tricks, and you know that if you go on a slightly different path, it's going to be harder because less people are doing it, there's less information about, and you also don't really know how to approach those tricks. But if you do just persevere and push forward, you're going to be able to make a much more of a legacy for yourself, and whether it be from an outside perspective or just for you looking back on your tricking career.
Yeah.
But there's a comment that I want to address. Someone said, "So sad to know that you can just do this sport as a young guy." That's not true. Not true at all.
What do they mean?
If I'm interpreting it correctly, I think they mean that you can only do this sport when you're young. It's not true at all. And it also depends on what your idea of young is. But like if you're a 45-year-old man, slightly different.
You can do it as a 45-year-old man.
No, you can, but it's going to be a completely different experience.
Yeah.
And I think like even if you're starting when you're like 25, 30, like look at Matteo, for example. He started when he was what? Was he 25, 26? And because he had a background in b-boying, he just kind of he did have the ability physically, but anybody can start at any age, and you can get great satisfaction out of just doing the basic moves and then progressing at your level. And you may not be able to, break the boundaries in terms of mad power, but you could be the most flexible. You could have the most flexible elbows and shoulders, and then have that impact all of your tricks and make your tricks look completely different to anybody else who's ever lived.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, how late? This is an interesting question. How late do you think you could start and still innovate, still provide something that no one else is providing?
I think pretty late. What did you say? 45?
35?
Oh, 35.
I think if you worked, you could put in a solid 10 years. If those 10 years are aimed towards specific goals, then you could. I mean, that's as long as I've been tricking.
Yeah. I think I'd say it obviously depends on the person, and these are going to be the outliers, because like you may have a pool of 100 people who all start at the age of 30 and only one of them gets to like a decent level, because that element of luck that we were speaking about in the other live that we were doing, like someone could just hurt themselves, and well, a lot of them could hurt themselves and then not be able to recover from it. But I think I'd say like between 30 and 35, I think you could still innovate.
There's still time. Yeah, if you look after your body and put in the work. All right, people in the comments, let us know. I want to know what people think about this. How much of getting really good at tricking do you think is down to luck? Do you think luck's a really important factor? Do you think it doesn't matter at all? Let us know what you think.
Well, while people answer that, someone said, is learning basic kicks very important for higher level tricks? 100%. And it's
tricks.
Yeah, but like, I don't know, there's a lot of, there's just a lot that you can do with kicks. Like if you don't have any kicks in any of your tricks, like you can't do like full snafu, full hyper work. And there's a lot that you can do with kicks. And it's something that I wish I paid more attention to when I was coming up. And I thought I was trying my best, but the main goal for me was just doing power tricks and doing weird things that like I felt worked well with my body. But I really wish I'd have taken those extra sessions where I felt awful, and instead of trying to chase power, I just did like rounds and hook kicks for 45 minutes,
Yeah, I agree. We got some comments on the luck one, and I'm gonna drop some bombs on y'all. Well, some of you. So 80% work and 20% luck. When you're learning with bad technique, got to be lucky to not get injured. Yep. No, it's down to consistent training. I wouldn't say luck at all. It's all down to the way you train and have your mindset and push for it and all that. So the way you train and how hard you push and how hard you work is like obviously super important. But without the luck, like someone else said, I don't think luck is super important. It is. Like look at every single one of the very best trickers in the world. They're all just in a situation where they have almost constant gym access. They're all under a certain height. Like, lots of things have to come into it. If you're born and your legs don't work, you're not going to be able to be good at tricking. So that's the first step of luck. You need to have a fully working body. That's
And
not everyone.
that's before you even start your tricking
That's
journey.
before you start, yeah. And then if you're like 6'11", you're probably going to struggle. Also, if you got some bone issues, or like, there's a million things that could go wrong. And then there's the people around you. Someone who just happens to live near one of the best trickers in the world is probably going to progress a lot faster than you if you're by yourself. Like, and also if you're just training outside on the grass and you live in a rainy country and you don't have gym access, how are you going to compete with someone like Jacob Pinto or Michael Guthrie, who have their own gym from the start and they can train as much as they want? So luck is definitely a factor. Like, it doesn't mean that you need to be super lucky. Like, some people, like Johan hasn't had the best gym access, but even him, who's worked incredibly hard and got incredibly good, he's had to be lucky enough to not get badly injured. Like, no matter how good you are, you can land wrong at any time and you can be out for a year, and it can affect you for the rest of your life.
I agree with everything that you're saying. I mean, we've spoken about this for
We have. It's just
many,
interesting,
many hours. But like,
I used to think about it. I used to think that luck was way less of a factor, is all.
Well,
but
this
now
is the
I've thought
thing,
about
like,
it more. You know,
I'm trying to understand why so many people, and I think it's because it's a lot nicer to think about it as if everybody is on level pegging. And don't get me wrong, like, I think that there is a like work ethic and your intelligence to a certain extent are such a huge part of the way that you're going to be able to progress in anything in life, but especially in tricks, because the information isn't as readily available as it is in gymnastics, as we were saying the other day. But like, I've been thinking about why so many people think that luck isn't a factor, and I think it's because it would be nicer to think that everybody on planet Earth has a fair start in everything that they do.
Yeah.
But it's not true. It's like, look at you and I think it's just your perspective on life. Like, look at me and you compared to somebody who was born into, I don't know, an abusive household in, like, I don't know, some war-torn country. Like, we are some of the luckiest people on the planet. And it's like being able to kind of admit that, but not have that affect your approach to things, because actually you should let it affect your approach to things, but in the right way. Like, you should be taking advantage of the fact that you are lucky enough to have a working body and to have a roof over your head, and, you know, be able to work a job so that you can support yourself and all these kind of things, so that you can spend your time doing the things that you're passionate about. If you're just born into an awful situation, you can't do that.
That's the would Johan be Johan if his parents were like struggling? They were too disabled to work and they were struggling to get enough food to eat, and he had to go and work and earn money to pay for them to eat, like some people have to. Would he be that good at tricking? Would he have time to spend all day every day tricking? No, he wouldn't. And someone said Johan is like a genetic freak specifically built to do crazy power moves. And I wonder, like, I think genetics are definitely going to play a part in it, and there'd be no way to really tell how much. But I think he's kind of built himself to be able to do crazy power moves. Like, I saw Johan before he was good. I met Johan when he was first trying to swing out a cart dub. So before he was like really good. But he was training harder than every single person at the gathering, without a doubt. And that was when he wasn't good at all. So he's clearly put in another level of work. And I think that's kind of crafted his body for tricking.
And it's all pretty much documented over the years. But
yeah,
like, you can see the locations that he's training on and the things that he's doing on these different surfaces, and you can tell by when you see him at a gathering and when you see him anywhere, you can just tell how much he wants it. You can tell that he's willing to go further than 99% of the population in order to achieve the things that he wants, which is to be incredible at tricks. And that's the top and bottom of it, and that's why he's been able to. That's not the only reason, but like, it's a very big part as to why he's been able to achieve what he has.
Yeah. So someone else said, doesn't Shosei have his own gym as well as a coach? And it's like, yeah, Shosei's been coached from a very young age, had pretty much constant access to training, which makes a huge difference. And that doesn't mean he's not worked hard. You have to work incredibly hard as well. But the best of the best, then luck is luck's what makes them the best of the best. Shosei, without the luck of having his own coach and really good gym access, he'd probably still be a really good tricker if he got into it. He'd probably still be great, but he wouldn't be as good as he is. And we have to accept that's a fact, really. Jacob Pinto, without having his own gym and being taught by, like the Three Amigos and stuff from a young age, he wouldn't be as good as he is. He might still be good, but without his own gym, would he be as good? Probably not. So luck seems to be the thing that like puts people onto the next level.
Yeah.
Like when you think about it, like anyone, if you look at trickers who are just really good, then they don't have all these things in common. Like they're from all different walks of life, all different shapes and sizes. Like you got people like Slava, really tall, and Dan Pitlock, bulkier.
Yeah.
But when you look at the very best, they've got things in common.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I feel you. And I don't know. I think, again, it's just down to that perspective that you have. Like, realistically, it's not a nice thing to think about, because you have to look at the unfair parts of reality. And, like, it's just essentially down to, from the second that you're born, there's just things that happen that you have absolutely no control over. And that is what we would describe as luck. You know what I mean? Like, call it whatever you want, but the reality is there's things that you have absolutely no control over that are going to determine what you're capable of achieving. However, we need to keep stressing that, like, I don't know, like, you can't let these things stop you from working hard or hinder you, like, or to use them as excuses, because we didn't have the situations that we have been able to build for ourselves straight off the bat. We had to work at it. Like, in order for us to get the gym access, we had to build these relationships with gym owners, and also show that we were trustworthy and show that we could bring value to them just as much as they could bring value to us. And that's all part of it. Like, it's not just one thing or the other, but there are other factors.
Yeah. And to one of these comments, I think anyone can do it, just need the motivation and grind. I think that's a really good attitude to have. And that's always the way I've tried to think about it. But at the same time, I think it's important to acknowledge that that's not actually true. If you get cancer when you're 20, you're probably not going to be the best tricker in the world. Like, it's not true. You can have as much motivation and grind as you want. That doesn't mean that you're definitely going to be really, really good. Yeah. But you need to do that to be really good, though. So you might as well do that. You might as well have that attitude and believe that you can, because you're not going to make it if you don't believe you can anyway. But you have to understand that it's not actually true.
Well, wait, hang on, because we're touching on something here. I don't know whether you do need to, because, like, I think it's a lot easier, because when we were younger, there was definitely periods when we were younger where we would genuinely say to one another, we want to be the best. And even though Mike was still like fucking like tiers and tiers above us, we would still say we want to be the best. And I think there is a certain level of kind of delusion that is necessary for people to be able to, like, even if you know something to be true, if you kind of don't feel like it, if you feel like you're different, that is going to give you way more moving forward with your progression, because otherwise it's a lot harder to it's a lot easier to fall into the trap of just being like, well, I can try as much as I want, but I'm never going to be as good as this person or this person.
Like, you don't
so
want
it'll
to
end up hindering
that.
you.
But see, even though that might be true, it doesn't help you to think like that. So I know a lot of like successful people talk about that, how you have to be kind of delusional. It helps to be delusional because for you to do something amazing, you have to believe you can do something amazing. And for you to believe you can do something amazing when you've never done something amazing before, you have to be delusional. Yeah. So it's a crucial part of being able to achieve it, you know?
Oh, sorry, I thought you were disagreeing.
No, I was agreeing. What else are people saying? Oh, I guess you don't necessarily need to be good, just need to be experienced. Oh, that's about coaching. Yeah, you don't need to be really good at tricking to coach. I think when you're at a base, if you can do like your B-twist and aerial and gainer, 540 kick, I'd just say you need to be able to do them to be a decent tricking coach. If you can't do anything, then you end up kind of giving people a lot of really bad advice. I've seen it a few times, and it ends up not. It does the opposite. It makes people worse. So I'd get to some kind of level, you know?
We've had it ourselves where people give us just the complete wrong advice.
Yeah. What's this? What do you guys think of this attitude? Acknowledging that you won't be the best tricker in the world, but the best tricker you can be. I mean, yeah, that's what I'm trying to do right now. And I know
Yeah.
that's what Omid's trying to do. But I think if you're a kid, I think if you're like young, you're a teenager, I think you should be thinking, yeah, I want to be the best tricker in the world. Mainly, not because that's actually going to happen, but I just think you're going to progress a little bit faster. You're going to push a little bit harder. If you already have it in the back of your head that you're not going to be the best and you're like 14, then that's not going to push you to Shosei's level. Whereas if you believe that you can be the best, you might not be better than Shosei, but you're probably going to get a lot closer to his level.
And the thing is, like, even if you don't become what you're striving to achieve, because when you do strive to become the best, you have to strive for one thing in particular, which is the best ever, and then you have to go past that. But if you don't reach that, then along the process, you will have achieved so much, and then you can kind of just branch off, which is pretty much what Kojo and I are doing, and what I've been trying to, well, both of us have been trying to do for years, but now I feel like we've got a much more honed approach to the way that we're going to do it. Like, we want to push certain areas that are going to be really, really great for us to achieve in, and be able to push in areas that we are more strong, more better suited, I guess.
Yeah, work into your strengths.
Yeah.
Another one of these comments. The most important things to coach, like anything, is your ability to teach whatever you're teaching safe. And I don't know, it didn't make that much sense. But yeah, I agree. I agree that being able to coach, like being able to teach well, is the most important thing. When I started coaching, I was already decent at tricks, but I couldn't coach for shit. It takes a lot of practice. You have to learn how to explain things. But at the same time, unlike gymnastics, there is no tricking rule book. It's like you can't just look at a book and know how to coach. And it's much more complicated. So I'd say, without having done the moves yourself, how are you sure that you're teaching it the right way? How are you going to be certain about that? How are you going to not miss out crucial details? Because you've not done it. So it's a lot easier to do that when you've not actually done the move yourself.
True, but you can just dedicate all of your, because if you're not dedicating your time to doing the moves yourself, you can dedicate that time to studying. And because there's such a vast library of tricking online, that you could just study every single person's touchdown raise and every single person's B twist and, you know, all those kind of things. But yeah, I get what you're saying.
I feel like, but watching it just doesn't do the same thing as working on the move. Like I studied a lot of touchdown raises for years and years, and I really didn't get them. But I've learned, even when I could already triple cork out of it like a year and a half ago, I still didn't understand a lot of things. But only after pushing for another year and a half can I really teach it well. And I know a year from now, I'm going to be able to teach it way better than I can now. And I just don't think you can do that without having done the move yourself, because you understand you get all of the mistakes. It's one thing to know that someone's hips are in the wrong place. Yeah. It's another thing to know, like, how to get it into their head to fix it. How to know what to tell them to actually fix it. You know?
No, I agree. I do agree. I just think, I don't know, for a lot of people, that is the reality is a lot of people are going to be teaching when they aren't necessarily physically qualified to do so.
I think you can teach at a basic level. I'm thinking elite coaching, really. And I guess you don't have to have done all of it if you're just kind of guiding their training, like Shosei and Zen's coach.
Yeah. Well, something I found out, apparently, Tai Chi can do, well, had done full in.
Like, yeah, I heard about that.
I couldn't believe that. I don't know why. I just never expected him to have. I'd love to be able to have like a full conversation. I'd love to have like if Tai Chi could speak English, or maybe even just get a translator and have like a full interview with Tai Chi and just ask him about everything, because it's such a mind-boggling thing for me as to how he's ended up being able to teach, and what he thinks the reason is that Zen and Shosei are the level that they're at, and also everyone in that gym, you know.
I do wonder. I bet he said a lot of great mindset things to them.
Yeah,
Like, he
I'd
really
imagine
instilled
so.
like a really good mindset for tricking that works very well.
Yeah.
I wish I could just speak Japanese and talk to him.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Obviously.
Yo, so there was a question here. Where's it gone?
Go on.
What's considered a good tricker? What kind of tricks? Now, I think that's a really interesting topic. Like, what is okay? Not good, because good is too broad. What makes somebody a great tricker? Because I know that you and I are going to have differing opinions on some things, but I think most people will have a similar sort of view as to what makes a great tricker, but they might not be able to like pinpoint what it is. Now, the first thing that comes to my head, obviously there's a certain level of tricks that you need to be at. And then I think after that, the thing that makes you a great tricker, because there's so many people doing incredible tricks now, you have to really set yourself aside to make you a great tricker. And I think a big part of that is presence. And that can come in so many different forms. So it for me, like, it is a bit of a variable that doesn't necessarily have like a one size fits all type answer, but presence is definitely one. Like, the aura that they bring to the session, like, even if they don't do the hardest things at the session, whenever they're doing anything, the way that they move and the confidence in which they do the moves they're doing is so important to make them like just a cut above the rest, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's a really hard one to like explain. It's a hard one to explain what makes someone a great tricker. Like, how good do they need to be? Like, someone said, great tricker is triple cork. I have spoken. And it's like, yeah, that's kind of part of it, but there's plenty of people who are great trickers without having done triple cork. Look at Rasmus Ark.
I was just about to say Rasmus.
He's not done triple cork, and he's an amazing tricker.
Yeah.
So I think you do need some level of difficulty. I think if you've never gone past like a single twist, it'd be hard to be a great... I bet you could still be a great tricker if you were super good at variations and you did really interesting combos.
Well, I'll tell you someone who didn't really do many double twists when he was training, and I know he's getting back to things, but he made a really, really strong name for himself.
Who?
Jordan Edwards.
Yeah? Well, he can do... He does do double twists.
No,
but not much.
Does,
he's not known
but
for
not
them.
very often. Like, he's not...
Yeah.
And even when he does it, it's not like, oh, okay, like, you know, he's got that base level down. Like, I've seen him do some scoot dubs, and I'm like, come on, Brett. Like, and I'm not trying to trash him or anything, but like, his skill set is not in the power lane, you know? And like, he's done a really, really good job of making a name for himself without having to do the power tricks, you know?
Yeah, because there's a lot of other really hard tricks, like he does like gainer helicoptero to cheat 7 twist and stuff like that. Like, there's a lot of really hard things you can do without doing generic power moves.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. What else we got? Oh, hey Kojo, I've been tricking for 9 months. I'm learning double cork, and a week ago I learnt full, and yesterday I learnt double full. Is that good progression? Sounds good.
Yeah, sounds lovely if you ask me.
You want to be careful with rushing, really. It depends. It said next week I want to learn full and back out. So I'm guessing this is joking at this point. Or, yeah, I'm guessing it's joking.
Maybe you're talking trampoline.
Not joking, huh?
Maybe he's talking trampoline.
He might mean trampoline. If you mean the floor, then you're either joking or really dumb. So I'm going to go with joking. But on the trampoline... No, even on the trampoline, you wouldn't be able to do that if you learned full a week ago. Not safely, anyway. You know?
That whole progression scale is weird.
It's off. Yeah, but saying that, he says he's not joking. All right, well, good luck. I'm just thinking of the coffin meme. Because, yeah, like rushing ahead and rushing your way to like breaking your legs isn't the way to get really good.
Oh no, he's talking trampoline.
Trampoline for full.
Yeah, trampoline's different.
Trampoline, yeah, you're probably not going to break your legs.
Yeah,
but yeah, that sounds like.
But you still got to be careful though, because you don't want to land and snap your ankles up, you know.
Yeah. I don't know. Rushing in general, not the way to go. Like, people always ask that. Actually, quite a few people message me say, "Oh, I've been training this long. I learned this." And I used to think like that when I started as well. But it doesn't mean anything. No one cares. No one cares how long it took you to get your move. If you've been training a week and you could do what you could do, no one cares. It's about how good you get, not about how fast you get good. Really, like,
well, it does. It actually no.
let
I'm
me
going to
finish the
disagree
point.
there.
Let me finish the point, because
Okay.
how fast people get good, then yeah, people will talk about it like, oh, this guy could be amazing. But we've seen so many people over the years where they get pretty good really fast, and then obviously because they're training recklessly, the injuries happen, they don't get much better, they quit or whatever. Like, plenty of people do that and then they're forgotten. So don't focus that much on how fast you're getting good. Think about the end goal. Think about how good you actually get. And if you want to get really good, you got to be smart about your training and not be trying to full in all the time when you've just gone full, you know? Like,
Yeah, it's funny. When we're talking about this, he's just put, I'm rushing. Yeah, I've sprained them. I'm assuming he's talking about his ankles.
yeah.
Like, this is the kind of thing, though. Like, this is what happens. And I get it. Like, you're a young guy and you're feeling hype and you're like, yo, I can't believe I've done this. I'm super excited. It's great. Like, I've worked my ass off to do this. But it's like, okay, you can work your ass off for a year, but then you snap your legs up and then it kind of ruins everything. And the whole of that year, at that point, what was the point? If you'd have just taken a few extra months to actually make sure you understood what you were doing and training your body, then you could do it for an extra 10 years. But instead, you end up doing something like I've done. And I'm speaking from experience here. I didn't expect to snap my shit up, but I did. I ruined my life for like 2 years. Over 2 years, actually, because it took me so long for the doctors to actually figure out that I had no ACL, MCL, LCL, meniscus. And it's just not worth it. Don't rush it. Just take your time. Make sure you understand what you're doing. It's like tricking is 80% mind, 20% physical. As long as you've got a working body and you're able to put in the work in order to make yourself strong enough and flexible enough, the rest of it is just being able to not be a dickhead, pretty much.
Yeah, pretty much.
Me and you are always fighting not to be dickheads, even at this age.
Yeah,
like,
we still want to do dumb things
all the time.
All right, what other comments we got?
It's popping off here. Oh, let me see what other questions I got.
Yeah, if we got some interesting ones. Someone says, I've been corking for 3 years, learned it in a week, but my current cork is so much better than anyone I ever landed prior to last year. Wait, so you got better at cork?
Good lad. Proud of you are.
Oh, he said at the start, also landing the trick and mastering is so different. Yeah, I get your point there. Like, it's way more important to master something. I'm not like that guy, how long he's been training, 9 months. I'd be more impressed by someone who can do a really consistent, really clean, powerful full than someone who can do a super sketchy double full. Like, because you're showing better progress. If you're someone who can do a really controlled, powerful full, then I'm thinking, oh, when he gets double full, that's going to be really good. If you're someone who can do a scrappy full and you can squeeze out a double full, it doesn't really show much. Like, yeah, you're just not going to progress as fast as the person who puts that time into each of the steps along the way.
Yeah. One of the questions I got, slightly related to tricks, but what would you do if you had 3 wishes for anything except for more wishes? What are you doing? What are your 3 wishes?
What are my 3 wishes?
Yeah.
An indestructible body. So I still have a natural life. Actually, let's say regen, because I still want to feel the pain. So I know I'm alive, you know, I don't want to be like a god. But if my body,
God, we'd all be in trouble.
I want it. So wish number 1, if my body could just recover at a superhuman rate, because then life would still be somewhat challenging. I feel like if you wish for something too good, if you like breezing through life, I learned this lesson from RuneScape. It's an important lesson. I wanted 99 range. I grinded for my 99 range. I got it. And then after a couple months, the game became boring. Same with life. If you could just wish and be able to do every trick and there was no challenge involved, you just did them really easy all of the time, then it probably wouldn't be as satisfying. So I'd still want the challenge of learning, but I'd want to reduce the risk a bit so it's a bit easier and a bit more fun.
So
I'll
I
just have
think
one wish. But
I
yeah.
think a good way to do it would be you still experience the pain, like all of the pain,
Yeah.
but it's in a really short window because then you can get back to tricks. So like you don't want to fuck shit up. Like like you don't mind trying something that's a little bit more risky, but you really don't want to have to go through, even if it's just a week of literally not being able to walk anywhere. So then it doesn't end up just being like you can just get way better than everybody else ever because you can train anything no matter what level of difficulty.
True.
But I was thinking more along the lines of like, if you, I don't know, for me, I'd probably just go for, I don't know, like a stupid amount of money, because then I'm gonna use that money to then, I don't know, if I had like a Billy or something, I'd use that money to invest in everything that I'm gonna need for any of the problems that my body has, so I can just get stem cells and all that kind of thing, and then I can start putting that money to places that I think would be best suited in order to grow the sport and also make my life fantastic.
Would that not? I don't know if it would make your life fantastic though. Like it would in some ways, and it would at first. But that means so there's never like you wanting to be a successful YouTuber or like clothing designer selling clothing and stuff. Wouldn't be exciting selling clothes. It wouldn't be exciting if you made like £1 million for a business you built from the ground. If you've already got all the money in the world, you wouldn't care. And
That is
also,
true.
like
That is
loads
true.
of things in the future, you wouldn't be able to feel the feeling of like really succeeding at something because you've already got all the money.
Okay,
It might get a bit boring.
but something that you can't really put a price on, because even when I've been at points in my life where I've got everything I need, like I've got enough money, I've got a house with people that I like living with, and like I can't complain. I'm just content. I still want to, and I know it's a little bit different once you reach higher tiers, but like
Yeah.
I still want to create the things that I want to create. Like there's never going to be a point where I just don't want to do tricks. Like in my mind right now, obviously things might change and my kind of approach to life will change as I get older and stuff. But like I still want to, like, because I see it as like that art side where it's like it doesn't matter how much money you've got, you still want to create that art.
That's
You
true.
know?
That's true. You'd still be able to, yeah, you'd still get the joy from the challenge of tricking, I guess.
And
That would
coding
be a big
design
part.
and everything like that. I still want to make the coolest shit because I think it's like the things that I make, I think are really fucking cool.
But I don't think I like with having the stem cells and having your own gym to train at and stuff. I don't think it'd be anywhere near as satisfying having your own gym if you just got given a load of money and you just built the gym. I think it actually earning all of it yourself and making it all happen yourself. Every day you're in that gym, you'd feel so much better.
I agree, but in reality, I
It
do
would
agree.
still be nice.
But in reality, if you were stood, like if I was the genie and I was like, Kojo, right, you got 3 bloody wishes. What's it going to be? If you've got to make that choice right there and then, you're not going to go for the hard route just because you think it'll be more rewarding. Like, let's keep it real.
You say that. We've already chosen the hard route.
I know, but like...
We're both trying to make a living from tricking. A niche flip sport where if you get hurt once, you're out for years, and little Asian kids are going to be 10 times as good as you. This is a ridiculous thing to try and make a living from, but we've both still chosen it, even though it's way more difficult than loads of other things we could have done. So
even with all the difficulties, we still can't stop. We just cannot stop.
True.
Like
it's part of the fun.
I don't mean stopping tricking. I mean stopping trying to make it. Like, bro, with all your, I don't know, all the things that go on with your business and the things that have gone on with my business, the bullshit I've had to deal with and the bullshit you've had to deal with. Most people are just be like, nah, bro, I'm out. But we just can't stop.
I don't know. I think holding on to the dream, it's more
It's
valuable
the most important
than the success,
thing,
isn't it?
It's the most important thing.
Keeping
Keeps us
the
young
dream
anyway.
All right, what questions we got? Oh, Jay Fung said, I'd probably wish to stay young for an infinite time to do everything you want to do. I think if you lived for an infinite amount of time, then it would get old. I think because eventually, even if it took you 10,000 years to do everything you wanted to do, eventually you will have done everything you want to do and you're alive for billions of years. Like
Although-
eventually you're
although-
going to get to that point. So
Wait, hang on though, because that's not considering all the advances that will happen. Because like
Yeah.
if it just keeps on going, it will get old, I think, still.
everyone keeps
But-
dying, who you know.
But you'll be on a different civilization. What if everyone else ends up at the same point as you, and then everyone can just kind of live forever? But
What
it would
if you
just
got-
get dull.
What if you got in prison though? Because life, like us going through life now, it's a small chance, but we could get put in prison. We could get kidnapped and tortured. But if you live forever, you can get kidnapped and tortured forever.
Yeah,
So
that'd be scary.
That'd be scary. If you knew that you could not die, that would make life pretty scary. Because worst that can happen is we get locked away for the rest of our lives, and then we die. If you didn't die, you're locked away forever.
It really scares me, that whole prospect. Like
the Black Mirror episode. Do you see
Yeah.
that one? The
dude, that would be so fucking
no hut
big.
one. I don't know.
You just can't. It just won't stop. Just forever and always.
Yeah. All right. What else? Anything interesting?
Omid is countering literally everything Kojo. What are you talking about? The first half of this, I was just telling him how everything was. I agree.
Yeah, but also that's the point of a discussion.
Yeah,
If you just agree on everything, then it's not very interesting.
yeah.
All right. What else? What else? People saying something good. Come on. Something that annoys Tom Connolly flips. Want to know something that annoys me about tricking? When you do something like a kick combo, and then let's say somebody sees it and they go, "Wow, that's cool. Do a backflip." Nobody appreciates tricks. Trickers appreciate tricks,
And also,
I think everyone does appreciate tricks when they're good enough. Tricking is one of those where it's so hard to be even decent. Like it takes over 5 years for your tricks to even look good, for the most part. Like most people, their tricks don't look good until like after 5 years.
yeah.
So, but I think when they do look good, then people do appreciate it.
Well, there's two sides of the coin. It's like regardless of the level, I've experienced people that have just looked at and actually spoken to me with disdain due to me doing tricks. Even if I'm just completely alone on the grass, nowhere near anybody, and people have just been like, "Can get a job." Well, fuck on. What are you talking about? Like, these are genuinely the kind of things that I've experienced, and I know you have too. But like I don't know, like especially doing tricks in public so much because of, I've got to show the locals. Like, but I've now seen that like it just depends on the person that you just so happen to interact with. And yes, some people are just like, do a backflip. Like I could do 10 switches and people will then go do a backflip. But the majority of the time, people are like, holy shit, that was insane. Like you just did 10 backflips off one leg. And I've never seen anything like that in my entire existence. And you just did it on a crosswalk in Japan. Like people do appreciate it.
They like because it was meant to be about kicks, is why. That's what he raised the point about.
Oh, is that what you said? Oh, okay.
But people do like kicks as well. Like if you can do a really big 540 kick, people love that.
Yeah, I think it's just it needs to be like linear enough for people to actually understand what they're witnessing. Otherwise, it just kind of goes over their head, and then it's like the whole time I envision people that don't understand what they're looking at. It's just them going,
Whoa.
what? And then they see it and they're like, well, something happened, but I had my eyes doing this for most of the time. So,
Omid, we got a good question from Jonas.
What is it?
Do you think that it's a good or bad thing that for tricking that our sport isn't that well known like other extreme sports? Like this is one that since we started tricking, it comes up in conversation. So for like 10 years now, I've been thinking about this one a little bit. And it is a really interesting question. I think overall, I think there's a lot of good things that would come from tricking being bigger. I think we're starting to see some of the bad things that can come from it. Because when the bigger companies get involved, then they bring a lot of bullshit with them. Yeah. And things get more regulated. Gatherings, I can see them getting less fun in the future when there's more like companies involved and they separate the attendees from the like pro trickers, the battlers that they've got there. And it gets more and more like that. Like, you can already start to see that with the adrenaline dramas, you know, when you get business, like just not like a tricker business, but an actual business involved in tricking, then it does start to cause problems. But at the same time, there's loads of benefits, like more gyms opening, more opportunities for trickers. Overall, there's going to be more of us, so that means the sport's going to progress faster. There's a lot of really good things.
I agree with everything you've said, and I think overall it should, like, I think it would be more beneficial for it to be bigger. However, there's kind of some conditions that come along with that. You know what I mean? Like, I think it depends on who is leading the way. Do you know? Like, because if you end up with the wrong people leading the path that everybody else kind of has to follow, then although tricking can be completely like uninterrupted by anybody on the planet, you can still go to the park, or you can still go to like random open gym sessions at your local gymnastics center, and no one's going to bother you. It's not going to be ideal, but you're still just going to do your flips, and then that's that. But like, overall, for the progression of the sport, I think it does make a huge difference, and I think it should be more authentic from trickers creating the businesses and the things that are going to push the sport forward. I think it's just going to make everything so much better for all those involved.
Well, I think we benefit a lot from other people from outside kind of coming into tricking in some ways, but only if they like partner with a tricker when they do it.
Well, that's the thing.
I think if they try and do it by themselves, then there's a load of things that they're going to get wrong with the community. Yeah. But at the same time, people from outside bring in new skill sets that would help. So, you know. That's
true, but I think as the pool of people just gradually gets bigger, eventually you'll find those perfect crossovers where you've got the people that are invested enough in tricking, but also have the business acumen in order to kind of have the best of both worlds. And I think it's just a matter of time until there are enough people that can build successful businesses and still kind of stay true and keep tricking's best interests at heart. And at the end of the day, like, my idea of tricking's best interests may be different to your idea, but I think because both of us are doing our own thing, it just means that then you get both. Like, you get my idea of what's best for tricking, and you also get your idea of what's best for tricking, and then we both push forward, and we're going to be a lot stronger if we push forward as a unit, you know?
Yeah. And it will be the ones who are the most passionate who have the biggest impact anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
Because they're the ones, you know, influencing the way things go the most, because they're putting the most out there, because they care the most. Yeah. So hopefully, like, I'm optimistic about the future of it. I think overall it should go pretty good. You know, someone said, this is a really good comment. I'm also a little afraid that the family feeling in our community could get lost. And but I think that's the sort of thing that is going to have to go anyway, to some extent, to have that family feeling with the whole world of tricking. Like, you can still have your own little communities. Like, there'll be more local communities, like the country community, your friend group with different people around the world. Like, I have like Kojo's Trick Lab community and all of that. But I think for everyone, every tricker in the world to get along, as it grows, that's just not going to happen. You can't have everyone getting along. It doesn't happen in any sport ever. I think that's just a fact of life, that's going to happen eventually.
Yeah, I think, and also, like, I think it's just going to be different, because think about it. It's like, although you're not going to be as connected with, I mean, the people that you currently know, that you're still going to be just as connected. Nothing's going to change. Even if tricking was seen by every single person on the planet and they knew what it was right now, that's not going to affect you chatting to your pal from fucking San Francisco on Instagram. You know what I mean? But like, I think it's just going to be different, because then there's going to be a bigger community near where you are. And I think it can be super beneficial.
Sure. Yeah, it could be way better. If you just look at how tricking's progressed over the last like 10, 15 years, look at places like Colorado, who have tons of trickers there now, and they've got a better community than ever. Yeah. Like, I think overall tricking growing will be for the best. It's just, you'll be friends with people closer to where you live. There'll be tighter, like, closer friend groups, rather than you having to reach out to people across the whole world because there's no one who does it where you live.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah, like, people do fear that, like, lack of connection, but it's like, it's going to be more of a real connection, because you actually get to see the people that you're interacting with, and then you can also have the online interactions, you know. Yeah, I don't know.
Agreed. Final thing, we got like a few minutes left.
All right, bless.
What you saying?
What's being said?
They're just talking about the next quad quarter.
Yeah, quadquarters. I don't know.
It'll probably, yeah, it's like one of the ones you guys are saying. It's gonna be Fuju or Ethan or Haruki.
Well, I was gonna say Haruki.
Someone said, Kojo, this might be personal, but how do you feel about Adrenaline Worldwide and their new business? Do you see it as competition? Well, they do like a similar thing. It's not new as well. They did start their website before me, but they didn't used to do tutorials. They just used to do battles. And I've been to their gym twice, and I've been in their videos and battled in Adrenaline and all that. And yeah, I don't personally see it as competition per se, because there's so many people out there in the world that it's more an issue of like, how many people can you reach? How many people who maybe would be interested in learning tricking or getting faster at tricking can I reach? Rather than there being a set amount of people and we're fighting over them. That's really not how it is. It's more just how many people can you get out to. Though in other ways, then yeah, I mean, they go out of their way to cause me problems sometimes. So in that sense, yeah. But it's not a big issue. I don't know. I thought it'd be more of a big deal. I thought they'd have caused more problems for me, to be honest, as I know the way they operate. But yeah, they're all right. Someone said, what about athletes
who can't create content for KTL?
Yeah, what about athletes who can't create content for KTL? Obviously, at the end of the day, that's down to the athlete. Adrenaline are a big company who have a lot of money, so they can pay people more than I can. And even though I've tripled the amount that I pay trickers since I started, I constantly up the wages as the company grows. I'm not going to be able to compete with a company investing $250,000 when I started the business with £500. So I can try my best, but luckily, because of all the people that Adrenaline falls out with and kicks out, then I can get them working for us. And there's plenty of them. The list grows every day. And also there's always going to be new trickers who I can work with, and people who just don't want to be told what, my words, they're gone. People who don't want to be told what to do. Like Ethan Turner, he's an Adrenaline pro. He still makes videos for us. I don't know if they've told him that he can't yet, but there are trickers out there who wouldn't just let a company tell them, oh, you can't do this. You know, unless they were getting paid loads. But,
I did that exact thing. I mean, I was offered the contract and I read the contracts and I just went back to them. And again, it's no disrespect. It was just a straight, I am not going to be told what I can and can't wear, what events I can and can't go to. Nobody is ever going to control the decisions that I want to make. If I think there's something, even if it's just for fun, like if I want to go and do something for fun, I'm not going to be told that I can't do that. It's just not going to happen. I'm a grown-ass man, and saying that, especially like for the amount of money that's involved, you know what I'm saying? Like if someone was like, yo, you can't go to this one event a year, but we're going to pay you $250,000 a year, then maybe I'd be like, aye. But
but for not a living wage,
talking, you know, like
that's why I don't tell anyone they can or can't do anything, because I feel like unless you're going to pay them a good living and they can afford to live just from what you're paying them, then you shouldn't be telling them what they can and can't do at other events. But it's down to the trickers at the end of the day. Some trickers are cool with it, some aren't. There's plenty that aren't, that are happy to work with Kojo's Trick Lab. So yeah, we're all good. Anyway, we've got 15 seconds left. Thank you everyone who joined us. This is our first live edition of the Omid and Kojo show. We're going to put it out on our Instagrams and on YouTube. There'll be more coming soon. Peace.
Much love. Peace.